What is up, guys? This is Devin from Stage Zero here, and I am here with my boy. Go ahead.
Yo, what's going on? This is Michael Washington, also known as AOD Garlic Jr.
All
from
right.
Team AOD.
Yeah, that's right. And we are here to give you this future Gohan deck profile. It's not been talked about too much, I don't think, in the community. I haven't been seeing too much about it. I think it's really good. I think Mike's been like messing around with it for a minute. This is basically like his deck for the most part. That's why I got him here. I just kind of like the idea, so I started to kind of look into it. Kind of gave some ideas, but for the most part, it's mostly him that made the deck. So, without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, so before I explain what the leader does and everything, I want to kind of give like a background on the deck. When I get into playing a new set and I see new cards revealed, I'm always gonna test all the leaders because I want to be knowledgeable about the current set coming up.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of people overlooking his leader. A lot of people are playing Red Vegeta, Red King Vegeta, Bardock, Mecha Gabor. A lot of people are gravitating towards those decks, even King Cole. And the reason I kind of start messing with this deck is because I feel like out of all the leaders coming out out of the next set, this leader is the best defensive deck, hands down.
True. Yeah.
And I figured at the beginning of each format, aggro usually wins the most events because nobody knows how to deal with the aggro. So I figure like why not mess with the best defensive deck and see how far you can take it. So here we have yellow future Gohan, on the front side. When he attacks his auto, he draws one. Also, he can awaken early. If one of your blockers is KO'd, he can burst 3 and draw 2 cards, I believe, and take life until you're down to 6. That's with the front side. If you have 4 life, you can draw 1, untap 1, flip them over. That's the only thing he does on the front side. That's how you awaken early. The deck is mainly blockers, so
pretty much, yeah.
On the back side, though,
yeah,
when he attacks, he gives a future Trunks. I'm sorry, yellow future Trunks. Let me get it right. Yellow future Trunks.
Yellow future Trunks. Yeah.
Plus 5K and critical. And on defense, when your opponent swings, you can untap a yellow future Trunks and give it 5K. I'm sorry, give it 6K.
Yeah, that's the weird part about it. 6K, not 5K.
No, 6K is actually super broken.
Yes.
Like, you know how many times like I defended and they like 25. I'm like, okay, I'm 26. Or I've had a guy neg me 25, neg my Trunks 25. And I'm like, all right, I'm at 26. So that's actually broken. So that's all the leader does.
Yeah. I will say, I first played Mike, I think, at one point on Untap, and he was like, yo, let me play this Future Gohan list. And I was like, Future Gohan, hey, don't that deck suck? And when I played him, and I was like, wait, this deck is actually really good. Like, I was like, how is nobody talking about this? Like, this leader's actually really good. Like, I couldn't get any, like, real damage through. Like, he just had infinite blockers, and, like, he had defense for days. And then the big guy just, like, is super strong. Like, it's so strong. So yeah, let's basically explain the main engine of the deck.
Okay, this is your main engine. So the first card, the most important card to me, honestly, is gonna probably be the 1-drop Gohan at the beginning of the game. You always want a hard mulligan for this card.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, all he does is, if your life is at 6 or less, he becomes a blocker. When he on play, his auto, you crit a life, and then you play a 1-drop future Trunks from your deck. That's basically all the Gohan does. That's important because on turn 1, you want to drop the new future Trunks, future Trunks Warrior of Hope, and all this does is he's a 5K, and it says whenever a Gohan is KO'd or removed from the battle area by a skill, so that means that they pop it back to hand, they put it to the bottom of the deck, which blue does. The skill still goes off. You take a 3-drop Trunks and put it over that card.
Yep.
That's all he does, and that's why this card is super important.
Yeah.
I also play the one drop Trunks. He's just a searcher. He's a 5K searcher, and he just looks at top three and adds a yellow sand to your hand. Yeah. But he's also evolved target for the 3-drop. The 3-drop evolved over Future Trunks for 1 yellow. And the Future Trunks, basically he's a 20K barrier blocker. And it says you can pay 2. His also says pay 2 if your opponent if you have 4 more energy. Is it your opponent? I'm not 100%
I think it's
sure.
you. Yeah, yeah.
If you have 4 more energy,
yeah,
you can evolve a Future Trunks over it, correct?
Yes, Future Trunks with a cost of 8 in your hand.
Yeah, okay. Future Trunks with a cost of 8, which is only the new Trunks.
Yeah.
So what makes it so good is you have a barrier blocker. That's a 26K. That's hard to get through. That's super hard to get through. That could be restood by the leader. So you can switch you can pivot from offense to defense. Now let's get to the aandroidd Trunks. Might Born of Hope. This card is
so stupid.
It's absurd. It's kind of broke in a way because the first thing he's a barrier blocker, dual attack, double strike. So he has barrier. One of the best things in the game, barrier.
Yep.
He's a blocker. So that means your leader can restand him and give him a 36K. So he's gonna be at a 36K base.
Yep.
Dual attack. And he has double strike. So
and on offense, crit from the leader.
He's gonna have critical from the leader. So I'm like, yo, this might be good. Also, his second effect is when this card is in rest, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards and one of your opponent's energy, and they can't untap it on the next turn. What? Yeah. I'm like, yo, this card. I'm like, okay. I'm like, people are overlooking this card.
Yeah, it's so that the 8-drop is insane for like how like sure you gotta wait till 4 energy, but like by then you're already like offensively like everything on your board and everything else is set up. Like, so dropping this dude for 2 energy, like at that point in the game is already like ridiculous. Yeah, he's insane.
And if you get 2 3-drop Trunks established and you got 2 8-drops, it's like that's 4 cards locked down on the next turn.
Yeah, that's game over pretty much at that point.
Yeah, so like,
it's rough. Yeah, so basically the line of play, like you said, is like you go into the 1-drop Gohan, then you go into the 1-drop Trunks. That lets you evolve the 3-drop for free, or because since the 1-drop Warrior Hope is unique, you can also use Gohan and bring out the 1-drop Trunks that searches as well.
Yep.
So that's a good thing if you need another Trunks to go into, or that one's killed or whatever or whatnot. So that is also a good thing. And then obviously you evolve into the 3-drop, and then at 4 energy you go into the 8-drop. That's essentially the main line of play for this for the main engine. Now let's go into the secondary engine that we have in the deck.
So this is my preferred secondary engine. I built a deck with U9 as well as apes.
Mm-hmm.
I've also tested it with Goku's lineage. Goku's lineage was too cloggy. Apes wasn't fast enough on defense. And I felt the same way about U9. It wasn't fast enough on defense because you're going to see a lot of King Vegeta. King Vegeta is going to be the aggro deck of the next format. Plus, you're going to see, Majin Vegeta still. It's going to be a lot of aggro decks at the beginning of the format. And those decks they couldn't pivot well. Like, they couldn't apply pressure and play defense well. Like, it'd be times where I couldn't use the U9 symbol in my hand because I didn't want to tap out, or I couldn't use the U9 Unison because I couldn't waste 1 energy on a Unison. I probably wasn't going to be attacked, and I still got to protect my life. So I went with the Slug engine, which is probably the most oppressing engine on top of Gohan. So because not only can they not kill your 3-drop Slug because you have so many blockers, so it stops them from gaining card advantage. So the 1-drop Slug is auto. When he's played, draw 1 card. And then activate main, pay 1 yellow, play a yellow slug army. 3 drop, I think 3 drop or less, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's 3
to the
less.
board,
Yeah.
or you could pay 1 yellow and rest the card by sending him to the drop. You have to send the 1 drop to the drop.
Yep.
We're gonna do the 3 drop slug. Just says he's a unique barrier. Bond 2, and all he says is when he's in rest mode, your opponent can't add cards from the deck to their hand. So that means if they super combo, they don't get to draw. If they activate cards like Assimilate, any searcher card, they can't add it to the hand. So this card is super, super good. He's a 20k base. Also, you can pay 1 yellow. He's like the man. You pay 1 yellow and play a Slug Army's card from your drop. I think from your deck. He's a 1 drop Slug Army from your deck.
Yeah.
Next is Angeline. This card to me is it can win you a matchup on its own, because he's a unique critical, and he says he's a bond 2, and whenever he attacks, if your opponent has 4 more cards in rest, they choose 2 of them cards and they can't be untapped at the beginning of the next turn. So most of the time you're gonna tap down their battle cards because they're not gonna let you energy lock them. And most of the time, they're not going to let you lock down their leader. So either they're going to keep their unison tapped or the battle cards tapped. So if you clear it, which is fine because you want to clear the battle cards out anyway. This is the only card that the ratio I'm at now, it may change, or another copy or 2 might get put to the sideboard. Mm-hmm. This is probably like one of my favorite cards in the deck. And then our extra card, Assimilate. For me, it has a dual purpose. It does search for my 1 drop slug. That's all it does in the deck. Search for my 1 drop slug. But also, it's an extra card in here. It's another battle card in here that it helps. So that was the purpose of me running this Assimilate. So this is the package I chose to run, and this is like the best the deck's run so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like when we were testing the original like U9 stuff, because I know people saw the match where I played against Brian with the Bardak's crew. That was my first game playing that deck, so I was making a lot of misplays, but also I just felt like the deck, sure, it was like, you know, it could pivot from offense to defense, but like the defense with that version of it was really weak compared to what this deck does. Not to mention, like, Slug in itself, the 3-drop Slug acts as a kind of like a deadly defender. Like, people do not want to swing at your lead because they want to get that card off the board. Yeah. And like, you play so many blockers, like this card just stays on board, and it's actually insane. And then like Angeline or Angeline or whatever, if you stick that card alongside the A-drop, their cards are getting, like, they're staying in rest mode. Like,
yeah. So this engine is perfect for it. Somebody might find something else to break it, but for me right now, this is the perfect engine to put on the trunks.
I agree with you. All right, and then we got all of our support cards here. So
okay, so it's a yellow deck. So let's go through the yellow stuff first.
Yep, pretty much. Nimbus.
Of course, we're gonna play Nimbus because it's Nimbus.
This card.
Vegeta's Final Flash is yellow.
Yeah,
we're gonna play Vegeta's Final Flash.
Vegeta's Final Flash.
Because yellow don't have a lot to deal with barrier. Super combos. We've went through so many super combos. Like, we went through so many super. Like, played as a Masu. We went through the Beerus Sparking super combo for a minute, and I ended on the Krillin because you have so much defense, you don't got to worry about going down to 4. But the way I personally play, I like to see more cards, so I don't mind going down to 4. And the deck is so defensive. Once you get to 4, you don't have to worry about dying unless their board is like super overwhelming, and you have stuff to deal with that, so you don't have to worry about going down to 4. I promise you don't do that.
Yeah.
So those are the super combos I showed. Poutine, because It's yellow.
It's
Yellow's
yellow.
gonna tap down. Yellow's gonna put stuff to rest.
Pretty much.
So just another deterrent. So play poutine. The new Saiyan card, the new Saiyan extra card.
Yeah, this card is actually so good, especially like alongside Poutine and like other cards. Like this card is just really good.
I'm the first to admit I was sleeping. I was sleeping on this card.
This card is amazing. Like it's first of all it's a negate.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all is it lets you play it you can activate the active battle like for free, just for having an energy up.
Yep.
You tap a battle card,
or a unison
card, and it replaces itself and draws one.
Yep. You know how many times I done tapped down a double strike unison? I tapped down a double strike unison.
It's so good.
Man, this is gonna be one of the chase cards out the set. I promise. Yes. Like for sure, it's gonna be one of the chase cards out the set. I wish I could run more. But I'm already at 52 cards playing the deck, so it's like I only run it at 2.
We want to keep a low card count for consistency purposes, but
yeah, so 52 is like the max for me in this deck. The $100 the $100 counterplay is next. Originally, when I started messing with the deck, I wasn't playing this Frieza.
I was the one that told Mike to start messing with this card, by the way. I was the one that said to play this card.
And I'm like, this card is actually kind of nuts. I had seen it and I had read it, but I had forgot about it. I'm like, okay. And I had forgot about it. But this card, this card is scary. And not only, this is one of, the scariest cards I've seen for yellow in a long time. Because giving yellow a topo is frightening, especially with stuff like Sin aggro out, mid-range Sin, this deck. Anything with yellow, it's I can't swing too much because I have to tap something down. So I'm sorry, let me explain what it does. We didn't explain what it does.
Oh yeah, we didn't explain what it does.
It's a counter attack, and when you negate, you play him. But he gets one less interest cost for every yellow extra card in your energy and drop.
Yep.
So you got 2 yellow extra cards between your energy and your drop. Then he comes out for 1. So now if I have the Super Saiyan extra card in him, I could tap something down and then negate the next attack. And I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah.
So now and then every time your opponent attacks, they have to rest something.
It is anything the unison, energy, battle card.
Yep, they have to rest the card in order to attack. It's like topo, but instead of discarding, they have to rest the card.
Yeah, it's kind of absurd. It's a high price tag for a reason.
But I don't know if it's worth $100 per se, but it's for sure a good card, for sure.
And then the activate main on it just says for 2 yellow energy, choose up to 1 yellow Frieza card with an energy cost of 4 and mecha in its card name and play it on top. So that's why you play the next card over, which is the 4-drop Frieza, the dual attack one, because this one, if you when this card is played, if you place 1 card in your hand to the drop area, it gets double strike for the turn. And when he's played, you can KO I think 2 cards, up to 2 cards in rest mode, and just KO them. That's just really good all around. You get a dual attack double striker, and you kill 2 cards.
Yep, and that was the reason I played him in the deck. It was when me and Devin would play, or I would Devin watch me play, I'd be like, bro, it's putting everything at rest is cool, but we need stuff to get rid of these cards at rest. And I was originally playing the 5-drop Frieza from set 12 that cost 5 yellow. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this card could be good. It was blocker, can be removed. And then I read the 3-drop Frieza, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a Mecha Frieza that lets you KO cards and rest. So that's how we came up on this. and it's been working perfectly for me. It's been working. His 15K base is like, yeah, and also you can pivot to like the what's the 4-drop Frieza that looks at your hand, puts the card on rest.
Oh
You can pivot to
yeah,
that. If
the
you want to
old one.
sideboard that, you can sideboard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's always an option.
Yeah.
But I think that this Frieza package is super strong, like super strong.
Yes. Then two of the old, I think set 6 fired up SS Son Gohan. All he does, he's a barrier 10k. You know, at the end of the turn, if your leader is, oh, it's not even if your leader is yellow. It's just
Nope.
just restand up to two of your yellow battle cards at the end
Yep.
of the turn. That's pretty much
Mhm.
it. With 2 or more energy. That's
Yep.
so you just switch some of your cards to active mode.
Yep. So you just switch your trunks. Your trunks is back to active mode. Your block is back to active mode. So like if you have double 3-drop trunks or 8-drop trunks and 3-drop trunks, or whatever block you have that you want to swing with,
Yeah.
then you can freely swing with the card and don't have to worry about it because the Gohan is gonna restand it at the end of the turn, kind of like the Sid deck. So that's why I decided to put this card in the deck, and it has barrier, like
It's barrier, so it just sits there unless they have something.
so yeah, so you can sit there and look cool, and I like Gohan, so
yeah. And then now here's where I think Mike and I differ here. Because I personally like Cell in the deck because you can get to 12 so easily. But Mike plays the new Sin SCR. And I'll just kind of let him say why he liked or why he chose that over Cell. I just like Cell because you can get to 12 pretty easily, and he's a more offensive way to like go for games and finish games. But go ahead and say why you like Sin.
So the reason I play Sin is, once again, like, because of the format we're going to be heading to when the deck is first announced. Eventually, towards the mid stage of the meta and the end, Cell is probably going to be the SCR you want to play. You don't necessarily have to play it towards the middle or the end, but it's going to probably be the one you're going to want to play as the deck evolves and builds change. But for the beginning of the meta, if this is a deck you want to take to a tournament, I would prefer, me personally, to play Sin. And what Sin does is it's a ultimate blocker, 40k, of course. Costs 110k.
Yeah.
And then he has a skill that says pay 1 after you combo with this card and put him in play, and then it rests all battle cards on board. I think it's just barrier.
Ignoring barrier.
It rests everything on the board.
Yep.
Ignoring barrier.
It's really good.
And then he has an activate main. You pay,
I think it's 4 energy.
Yeah, you pay 4, and he gets double strike and dual attack.
It's crazy.
And that's just for because you're gonna see a lot of aggro heavy builds in the game at the beginning. You're gonna see a lot of aggro heavy decks at the beginning of the format. And me, I'm a defensive player, and again, Sin can pivot really well. It costs 4 energy, but Sin can pivot really well, and then so it aligns with my personal strategy with the deck. Like I said, later on, Cell might be the correct SCR, but I think for the beginning of the format, I think using the Sin SCR is gonna probably be the one for me.
Right, and that's, like I said, that's why we differ. So yeah, that's pretty much mostly the deck. So if you wanted to see the deck profile, here it is fully. I just realized that I didn't put the Unison as a support or in the support area, but essentially the Unison just says, or it's a dual attack for 3 yellow specific energy, and then what is the +0? It doesn't gain any markers, by the way.
The +0 lets you rest a card and KO it, and then the -3 lets you draw a card and KO everything in rest.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The +0 lets you rest a card 4 or less.
4 or less. Yeah.
And KO it.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. So I think that's the better Unison, because like you said before, like we used to mess with the Bergamo Unison when we were messing with the United cards. But it just wasn't that great. So then he put this one in there, and I thought it was really good for what the deck was, or what the deck ended up transitioning to being. And I was like, that's really good. So
of course, me and Devin, looking. This is Devin's list.
This is my list.
Looking at his list, I think it differs from one card. That's it. It's a 52 card deck, and he plays 2 of the unison. I don't, because there's some matchups that you just really don't need it. Like, and he feels like playing at least 2.
I just don't like one-ups. That's it. I just don't like one-ups because
I'm not a fan of one-ups either. But it was like,
I just like seeing cards.
And as you can see, Devin plays 3 of the what's that? The Dependable Saiyan trunks.
Yeah, so that's the only change. That's literally the only change.
3 of them, and I'll play 4 because I want consistency, which is weird because he plays 2 unison because he wants consistency. So it's at that point it's just preference.
Yeah, it's just a preference thing.
Yep.
But overall, that's pretty much the deck. Here are like we mentioned earlier. Here are some other options for the deck. You know, U9. You can play the U9 package. It's still fine. You can play the Apes version of it. It's just a little slower. If you wanted to have a little more fun with the deck, like, you know, that's an option. You can play like a blue yellow Aegis stuff in there if you want. Like the Gohan package in itself, I think is at most like what 12 cards, realistically.
Realistically, yeah,
not
12
count, yeah. So like everything else is just.
If you go 4 of everything, then it's 16.
Yeah, so like 16. Yeah. So at that point, you're essentially like everything else is just whatever you want to make with the deck, like whatever else you want to put in it. So it's a lot of free space in there. And then like red, yellow. I just put red, yellow in here because like you can do that if you want. You can play swap stuff in there if you want. It's so open to like whatever you feel like you want to do with the deck.
You can also play Zarbon that stands blockers.
Yes, yeah.
The old Zarbon that stands blockers in the deck. So you can, if you want, you could try and make a couple on the deck. It's a little bit slower, but it also keeps the card tapped down and guard barrier, gives you an extra card. So it's all kind of options you can go through with the deck. And that was one of the reasons I actually liked the deck, outside of it being Gohan.
Yeah, it's just super open and flexible to whatever somebody would like to do with the deck. It's very open to different variables and different possibilities. It's very good offensive, defensive. It's just all around a solid deck. Very overlooked in the format right now, or in the format to come, I should say. But yeah, it's definitely a sleeper, and I think it's going to be really good, and that's why I got so interested when I started watching Mike play the deck. It was really good at what I liked, and I thought it was really interesting, and so I picked up on the deck, and it was good. So yeah, so let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, you know, or any ideas that we might not have mentioned in today's video, or anything, you know, we might have missed in general, or you guys think of. Just go ahead and put it in the comment section below. You know, let us know anything. And other than that, we're out. Any shout outs, Mike?
Shout out to my training partners, Devin, Rob, Paul, Spank. Shout out to Team AOD. That's it.
All right, man. Well, we are out. Peace, y'all.